wanna celebrate this life forever.
Come on.
I'm living it, not dreaming it. We getting it, black luxury. I wanna celebrate this life forever.
Yeah.
I'm living it, not dreaming it. We getting it, black luxury.
A paradigm shift is occurring across the country. Justice is expediting the process of what we're becoming. Universally unified in alignment with our greatness, which lay dormant for ages, but now it has been awakened. In this dispensation, we've been repositioned for a movement, excluding the lie of being viewed as 3/5 of a human. My lineage says different. God.
Good evening.
Hey.
How y'all doing?
What's up?
So welcome this Wednesday. So you know what time it is. It's another episode of Revolution Ready. I'm with my brothers, Sedan and Pierre. How y'all doing?
I'm feeling great.
I'm doing all right.
Talk to the people. Say hi to them.
What's up, y'all? What's up, everybody? I want to thank our viewers for tuning in. Everybody that comes and show their support.
Most definitely.
We most definitely appreciate it. We love y'all. Did they say I love you too?
They say yes, I love you back. Can you say love?
Yeah,
Love them back.
I think they can.
Hit a like, love, share to let them know that you love them. Love you, Pierre.
Yeah, we definitely love you too, Tiff. Yeah, love you, man.
I love y'all too.
You know what? We should normalize that.
That's definitely normalized saying that to each other.
Let's do it.
You know what I mean?
Let's
So,
set the trend.
All the viewers out there, man, just take out a second. Just if somebody around you right now, or
Just
you know,
tell them you love them.
tell them you love them. You know what I mean? We need to express some love.
Wednesday love.
Wednesday love. Yeah.
Love on a Wednesday.
That's right. We gotta spread some love because it's a lot of corruption going on in the world.
Man.
True that.
Oh my God, it's a lot of corruption going on in the world. I want to touch bases on what's going on downtown right now, though,
What's going on?
What's going on?
with the Palestinians.
Oh yeah.
So what's going on? I heard about it. What's happening?
I mean, I think they fed up.
Mm-hmm.
They fed up, but like Tone said, you know, that's what happens when you have corruption and you have religion in your government system.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So yeah, but they fed up.
Yeah.
It's only one way to put it.
But shout out, hopefully we can get to a resolve. We don't have to see any more people being brutalized, killed, and taken over. So we can continue to have peace.
Yeah.
Not just domestically, but internationally. But we definitely have a lot of issues plaguing here in America, here in Wisconsin, here in Milwaukee, that definitely need attention and definitely need people to be speaking up and speaking out. And making sure that we're making some change and creating peace and having an equitable system here where we are right now. Yeah. So what's some hot topics that we could talk about?
The Milwaukee Freedom Fund is one of them, right? We can
Yes.
talk about. They coming up with a way to pay women's bills.
So I heard about that. So I think it's definitely something that we should be promoting. And let me get the official information so that way we're providing accurate info to our viewers out there so they know how to support. So as my brother was saying, Milwaukee Freedom Fund is hosting Black Moms Bailout. So I'm going to just read it to you a little bit about it and then give you guys the information as to how you can help support and spread the word. So women are less likely to be able to afford bail. Cash bail hurts women, families, and communities. Milwaukee Freedom Fund is doing a series of bailouts for Black mamas and caregivers all the month of May in honor of Mother's Day. Shout out to all the moms, those who serve as moms, caregivers, sisters, aunts who just help raise a village and support moms on this past.
Shout out Black women.
That's right, on this past Sunday who celebrated Mother's Day. So paying bail restores the presumption of innocence, reunites families, and challenges a system that criminalizes race and poverty. Bailouts continue the history of Black liberation where enslaved and free Black people use their collective resources to purchase each other's freedom. Despite the reality that Black women and femmes bear the brunt of incarceration, both as the fastest growing population of people incarcerated in jails and prisons over the past 50 years, and as caregivers and space holders for our families and communities, there has been little discussion of the ways that Black women and femmes experience the impacts of incarceration. So if you know of any woman, Black mama who needs to be bailed out, we're going to drop the link here in the chat, in the comment section, so that way you can submit their names. Also, if you're able to give a donation or share this page for folks in your network to support, we're going to drop that link. So it's Milwaukee Freedom Fund. again, the effort is to support Black Moms Bailout. So it's the entire month of May. So thank y'all. Make sure that y'all support that.
Shout out to that organization.
Definitely a big effort.
So just even, speaking and adding fact to that, women incarceration rate has grown at twice the pace of men's incarceration rate, in recent decades. And it's just, that's bad, and that's in our local jails.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's bad. Mm-hmm. We can't fail our children, you know what I mean? And it's not our fault, sometimes the system plays a role in that, most definitely.
Of course.
But, choosing to make better decisions, these babies need y'all, and we not just going to let them take y'all away. So, shout out to Freedom Fund.
Yeah.
Exactly. Most definitely shout out to that.
And just to touch back on that too, like right quick, what does that actually look like to have more women being incarcerated than men? I mean, that's essentially telling us that more women, not just saying that they're committing crimes, but essentially crimes are being committed. But like, where do you think that stems from?
I mean, I want to say it stems from the fact that, noticing our power. Sometimes, Black women, their power is sometimes, is underestimated. So now, since we have, Black women thriving, you know what I mean, in the world, I feel like the system is set up to break us down in any way that they see us make progress. We might have a president Black woman, you know what I mean? One day it's going to happen, and it's, if we have that, it's going to scare the system even more to do what they're doing now. You know what I mean? I personally feel like it's corruption. I personally feel like that. I don't see our Black women as violent.
Not at all. So, I mean, I think just to quickly touch on your question, I think it's twofold. A lot of times women, we have to take on the responsibility of a lot of things. While I didn't grow up in a single parent home, my mom did. And there was a lot of things that my grandmother had to do. And I think, she was at her wit's end a lot of times trying to raise 3 kids, trying to figure out how to make it day by day. And that's the storyline for a lot of women back in that time and even today. And a lot of times people just get caught up. I never judge anybody based upon decisions that they make in life. I just hope to pray and support them in the midst of what they're going through, and then be able to hopefully that they can overcome that, and that they can see something on the other side of the situation. But at the end of the day, there still is a system that doesn't allow for women to be productive and doesn't allow for them to thrive. It wants them to be able to be sponges off of others and then not get credit for the work that they do. There are women who are working low wage jobs who are trying to just figure it out from day to day to day to day to day. And oftentimes they get caught up in things that are based in society. And so I think this is an opportunity to not criminalize women, but to speak to women and say that we're supportive of you and that we're going to help you get past this barrier. So that way you can hopefully see something new and something fresh as you continue with your life and being able to raise your family. Moms, if mom ain't in the picture, if mom is not well off, if mom is not mentally, physically, financially, spiritually stable, then the whole family isn't at all.
Yeah. Can I dive into a topic?
Most definitely. We was talking to you.
I just want to talk about San Francisco redirecting $3.75 million from the police department into Black businesses.
I heard about that. Most definitely.
You know what I mean? Shout out to San Francisco.
Most definitely. So they said they was giving $120 million to the Black communities.
That's what I heard. That's what I read.
Yeah, and they also said they was gonna give out to the African American commerce, right? Most definitely.
She said $3 million were going directly to the Black community as a part of a Dream Keeper initiative.
That's what's up.
Let's keep the dream alive.
Yeah, and the $120 million is supposed to go towards starting up small businesses.
Yeah.
And that's even better. So why is it important, y'all, that this is happening? Like, why is it important that there's a reinvestment into not just the community, but into the Black community, into Black businesses?
I want to say first and foremost, because we keep screaming and chanting defund the police, and let's allocate those funds into a space that are more useful.
Yeah.
And we see San Francisco jumping right on board and not just. I mean, it's a clear sign of help. You know what I mean? They're trying to see their city thrive.
Exactly.
They most definitely need to come up off that paper. You know, that's our money, and we need it.
Now,
Most states, anyways, you know, the police budget always, you know, it's always a larger margin than what our budget is or the things that we need. It's always like that everywhere. So, you know, it's about damn time. Can
I
we say
hear that. Yeah, well, you said it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm saying.
So, you know, Pierre, you're an entrepreneur. You invest in, you know, black business owners. So, like, how would that even feel if that happens here in Milwaukee?
great. I mean, just the support alone. Being black, especially young and black, trying to have a business operating, it's already stressful enough just being a black man alone. But then trying to conduct, you know, business, and like I said, it's already hard enough. So just that backing would, I think it'd be the push a lot of small businesses would need to, like I said, help our city thrive.
Exactly. Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to keep saying it. I always say it all the time. You know, budgets are about, you know, a moral compass. It's what cities, what they value. And so when you see more money being placed into, quote unquote, public safety, better known as police departments, then that's what a city values. They value wanting to make sure that the police have a well-sized budget to be able to do what? That is to go into black and brown communities. You can debate whoever you want to debate, but don't debate me. But when you invest those dollars into the community where people can actually see it and they can actually use it and they can actually feel the impact behind it, then you'll have a much better community and you'll have people thriving. You'll have people working. You'll have students who feel supported while they're in school. You know, healthcare, the whole 9 yards. We can go on for days about it, but. So shout out to San Francisco. I was going to say
shout out,
South
shout
Carolina,
out.
but San Francisco for doing that. Hopefully, other cities, to include Milwaukee, can follow suit and can get on the list of doing that.
Yeah, most definitely. Shout out to San Francisco.
Shout out.
Yeah.
We need that. We need that. We need to be on board with that. They should most definitely, you know, allocate those funds to the black community because watch how San Francisco grows. You know, watch the growth of San Francisco
Exactly.
now.
Right.
You know, watch how value decreases in San Francisco now. I mean, the violence. Watch how it decreases in San Francisco. Yeah.
Speaking of that, so I want to give a shout out, a plug. You know, I love to see, even though I'm young, but I still have some traditional ways that I was raised with. And I just love to see men stepping up and just doing what they have been called to do, and that is leading. And I just want you guys to just feel congratulated and supported by me as a woman and as a black woman here in this community, that I want to just big up to both the two of you and other collective men in the movement who've taken on a task recently of doing community wellness checks, and just, you know, randomly saying, you know what, there isn't another way that our community is going to you know, look after each other. It has to be done by us. And so if you haven't been watching these gentlemen, there's been different lives going on. So shout out to Vaughn Mays, Representative David Bowen. I'm naming those who have gone live so that way you can go back and look at their lives so you can see what these men have done. Black and brown men coming together and saying, you know what, we're going to hit the streets of our neighborhood and we're going to, I wouldn't say use the word patrol because that's connected to police, and so we don't need that. But they have just shown some love.
Yeah.
So y'all talk to us. How did that come about?
Pierre, you want to go first?
Sure. It started off.
Shout out David Bowen.
Shout out David Bowen, Senator, State Representative David Bowen. It started off as a small conversation with a few collective gentlemen. And when I say a few, it was about, 15, 20 of us?
I could name him.
Yeah. You want to name them? I mean, is that what you want to do?
I could name him. Y'all know who y'all are. I don't
Yeah,
wanna
shout out
expose
to
nobody.
all the men that was out there at the breakfast table with collective minds and thinking. But yeah, we started off with a conversation over breakfast. And one of the gentlemen, shout out Percy. I'm just going to call his name. Shout out Percy.
Yeah, Percy. Better known as P.
We had been talking about an initiative to get into the community more direct. And it seemed like whenever those conversations would arise, it would always be like, okay, well, we're going to plan this and then plan this. So ultimately, it was just we were going to plan to make another plan. You know what I mean?
We started off with equity first.
Right.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
And then what transpired from that was the fact that we was already going through so much violence.
Yeah.
You know, so to even start with wanting our black community to thrive and wanting better for our youth, seeing as all of us have a connection to the youth, wanting better for our youth, we decided that we have to protect them first. Yeah. We have to show them how to love on one another first. You know,
that it was okay to love on one another.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and that's really just how it came to be.
Yeah.
You know, we not policing.
Right.
No.
You know, we're more so overseers of justice.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
We started a movement,
Yeah.
you know, to create love amongst black men.
Yeah.
You know, and normalizing the fact that it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, to show your brother some love.
Exactly.
You know, and it's not okay to be living in the same community and want to kill one another.
Exactly.
So
I love it. Shout out to y'all for just strategizing, organizing, and then executing. And so if you feel the need, feel the urge, not just talking about it, but being about it, come out and support these men. Women, stay in support from a distance, love on them, but let these men come together and be able to walk the streets of our community safely. So I pray over them, and I just want them to be encouraged as they continue to grow and expand in their ability to be able to, support our community as a whole. So shout out to y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate
And there will
y'all.
be a lot of more walks coming up. Like she said, just check the live. Stay tuned. Let's grow these numbers. We are as strong as our numbers. So,
speaking on getting the ball rolling on reform and legislation. Can we touch bases on the Wisconsin Senate passing the bill for police reform?
Yeah, we definitely should talk about it. I don't necessarily know if it is positive in a sense, because there's been a task force. So shout out to Becca, who served on the state speaker's task force that submitted recommendations around policing reforms that not just will impact the city of Milwaukee, but impact police departments across the state. And so the state legislator has to take up those initiatives. But I think what you're referring to, brother, is what the Wisconsin State Senate took up yesterday. So what were some of the things that was in that bill?
So some of them are the fact that the body cameras that are being worn, they're not looked at as effective. She said they were effective, but then again, the transparency and accountability is not. What we're seeing from the police. And they voted to anonymously ban the chokeholds. So we got that.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And that was pushed by the work of
the task force.
The task force, and most definitely to TPR for pushing that effort and getting people to recognize that there needed to be a ban on chokeholds. So shout out to the Police and Fire Commission for, taking a stance and doing what they're supposed to do as an independent body. And voting in the voice of the people. But back to this bill, I think there was like four police reform bills that passed on the Senate floor yesterday. So in Madison, the state Senate was in session, and they put forth a couple of bills. One in particular, that's Senate Bill 117. And that bill makes changes that affect the Board of Fire and Police Commissions for Madison and Milwaukee, and it ultimately passed. And just a little, details around it, that it just will allow for police unions to have more oversight and being able to add union nominees outside of what the mayor appoints to that particular commission. So I don't know if I really like that.
No, hell no. It creates the measure creates a $600,000 grant program for police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they don't need no more money.
And a lot of the things that grant is for should be things that are done naturally. That should be, you know what I mean? They should just be practiced regularly without having a special grant pass for it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The grant requires for police to post the use of force policies online.
They should.
It requires the state Justice Department to gather more data on the use of force incidents and produce an annual report. Require the police to share personal files during hiring process, and require Milwaukee and Madison Police Oversight Commission to add union nominees. So that's what the grant is about.
And then even on top of that, so yesterday there was a survey that was taken, and the survey was taken by 1,001 Wisconsinites. Did y'all take the survey?
I did not.
I did not.
I don't either. I don't think I did. Any of y'all out there in Revolution Ready Land?
Anybody?
Did y'all take the survey?
I don't think we heard about a survey.
I don't think I heard about it either. And so the survey results, it was taken at the beginning of the year, and it showed that nearly 50% believe that chokeholds should be allowed, while 37% disagreed. So I wonder, who was that 50%?
Yeah.
Who did they poll?
Probably some Trump supporters.
Possibly. But like, to even give that, to even think that's valid, of thinking that chokeholds should still be existent, especially after everything we saw in 2020 and the response to what we've seen, that, you know, reforms need to happen, that police need to be policed, that there needs to be more accountability as it relates to police, and that chokeholds should not be a form of action or tactic that police officers take at all.
Right.
They're not even taught that.
Not even.
Train. Not. It's not.
You know what I
even
mean? So we
training
shouldn't
for it.
even have to have a ban on something that you're not even
Right.
taught to do.
Yeah.
You know, that should just be. It should just be common sense. You shouldn't even be doing it.
And it's mighty funny. So I think that's biased, this survey, because it was released by the Wisconsin Professional Police Association. So each year they do an annual statewide survey and asking people about certain police tactics. So of course I think their survey is going to be a little skewed, swayed in the wrong direction of wanting to see chokeholds continue, because the chokeholds aren't happening to, let's just be quite frank, on the people that look like you and I, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they'll tamper with evidence, video footage, I'm pretty sure they have no problem tampering with survey data. You know.
Yeah, I don't trust none of it.
I don't trust none of it either.
So what you think the response should be as it relates to, you know, the Senate now passing that particular bill? You know, the next step is going to go through the process of going through the assembly. We already know that we have a friend in State Representative David Bourne in the assembly. But then, you know, it's going to eventually go to, let's be honest, it probably will pass. It's eventually going to go to the governor. What you think the governor should do?
I think the reason that they created the task force was to silence the voices of the people. And it was just to give us a voice. But now, since the George Floyd, you know, trial has, you know, come and gone, they're like, you know what? It's time to take our system back. You know what I mean? No more giving them any voices. No more giving them a chance. It's time for us to show them that America belongs to us.
That's right.
You know, and it's wrong because the government wouldn't be without the people.
That's right.
So hearing the voices of the people is extremely effective to us. You know, not probably so much to the government, because now they have to foot the agenda. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that.
Yeah. You know, it's I think of it, I was watching certain things yesterday as like sessions in Wisconsin and stuff that was happening in other states, even just like off topic, but voting. But I think about the fact that there's so many people with, you know, PhDs. No, nothing wrong with getting education, but it's so many people who have PhDs and other high level degrees who are making decisions for people who didn't have a chance to get a degree. People who have GEDs, and they think that, you know, that sector or category of people should not be able to have a voice. But little do they know, that's the voice of the people. And that's the people that you need to protect. And it shouldn't be just based upon, those who the haves, who making decisions for the have-nots.
I think we need the task force.
We need the task force.
I think, the task force, I mean, it's our voice. It belongs to the people. The government doesn't. Obviously, we can't have a voice in it. Anytime we get one, they take it. Now they want to overhaul. We not having that.
No.
Because if we do have a say-so about it, then we need to get a vote going. And let's see, what we can do to help. We need our task force. They came up with this community task force to make change for us. There's no way we're going to let them take this away from us. And it just made one change, but it's huge. It was already well needed. The ban on chokeholds was huge following the era of George Floyd.
Yeah.
It was huge. R.I.P. George Floyd, too.
Yeah.
It was huge. And now it's like, oh, no. They're making direct changes. They actually know what they want. They're demanding justice. We just gave them a piece of it. You think they don't want more? They're going to want more.
Yeah. I think there's no turning back. What you think, Pierre?
I think as long as the people step up and we stay motivated and, like I keep saying, don't lose the momentum, we good. We good. You know what I mean? We're going to have to keep taking small steps until we can start taking leaps and jumps and hurdles or whatever. You know what I mean? But I like to say progress is a process, but as long as you're making it, you're making it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So we take what we got and keep going and keep going.
That's definitely shout out to our viewers too, y'all out there watching. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Thank y'all for tuning in on this Wednesday. Getting this information on how to stay revolution ready. We just got done talking about how the government is trying to decide to overhaul our task force.
Boo.
And we want to know what y'all think out there at home about that. Add some comments. Let us know how y'all feel about that. Let us know what else our task force can be doing to be more effective. If I think we're on the right path.
Yeah.
After a ban on chokeholds, I think we're on the right path.
Yeah. There is a question in the chat. Is the FPC by Sarah Smith? Is the FPC supposed to be the people from the community? Also, the police are taking over the FPC now. That shouldn't be. Yeah, most definitely. The FPC is appointed body by the mayor, but it's supposed to be not biased. It's independent commission of folks who are charged with holding the police accountable on things that happen. So it definitely should not have union representation having influence over the people who need to be held accountable. So, hopefully we can make some inroads as it relates to this particular bill. I think it's time to
take a break. And then, we're going to come back in with our guests.
Y'all stay tuned, y'all.
Please stay tuned.
Looking to support black-owned businesses in the Milwaukee area? Download the MKE Black mobile app, now available on Android and iPhone devices. Find your new favorite black-owned restaurants, boutiques, and more in the Milwaukee, Waukesha, and Racine areas. MKE Black also supports local black businesses with events, grants, and marketing. To learn more, visit us at mkeblack.org. Once again, that's mkeblack.org.
You said Elijah Johnson.
Elijah Johnson.
Elijah Johnson.
Well, we back, everybody. We have a very special guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself,
So my name Elijah. Field Director for Aisha Carr for Milwaukee School Board. I'm also Head Peer Connector at the Silver Spring Neighborhood Center. I work along Aisha Carr. There's also, that's basically a quick summary of what I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and just for the viewers, we wanted to let you know we were supposed to have Aisha Carr in, who was as of April 26th was sworn in as the Milwaukee School Board Director for District 4. Yeah. But due to unforeseen circumstances, she couldn't be here at this time. So we appreciate her Field Director coming on in, Mr. Elijah Johnson.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
We appreciate you. I
appreciate being here.
Thanks for being able to step in the gap.
Most definitely. So, being a field director, what is it that you do?
All right, so to summarize it, I gather our field team and I organize our field team. I like cut the turf, like choose which within our universe, which neighborhoods we hit strategically, whether they're like high voter turnout neighborhoods or all neighborhoods who have a rich voter population in those neighborhoods. We put out like turf. It's a cutout map of that area, and we knock on those doors. We could do lit drops. We don't do lit drops though. We like attempt to directly
engage.
Speak to exactly. Like we trying to engage with the people that's gonna be our voters in turn. So that's a small summary of what we do or what I done.
Speaking on the schools and stuff, the kids are supposed to be getting vaccinated now, right? So what is it? They said what is it, like next week Tuesday?
Yep.
Thursday, the kids should be able to get vaccinated under the age of 12 and under.
12. So
12 and older.
12 and older.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah.
So what's you guys' thoughts around the vaccinations or the direction as far as the school board for MPS?
So me personally, I feel like I'm pretty open to it. Like I don't push away from it, but I also feel like to each their own. Like if you are in support of it, that's respected. But if not, everyone has their own beliefs and their own guidelines that they tend to follow. I feel like everyone, like, and everything that I believe, I feel like everyone should be, like, everyone's opinion should be respected, no matter what it is, if it's pros or cons.
Did this come up during the campaign as far as like obviously we're in the moment of the pandemic and parents want to safely have their children return to school,
right?
As well as teachers want to be in a safe environment too.
Correct.
So did this come up on the campaign trail for Ms. Carr?
The concern of the vaccination, it was pretty much always like present. It was just a higher, like it was more evident during the campaign, like during our journey. More people were. It was a heightened worry about it, I would say.
Okay. And how did she respond to it, or how did the team respond to it?
We basically met it head on. We understood the concern because I myself, I'm a former student, but I got younger siblings, and like I know they didn't respond well to the virtual initiative. Like my brother, he's more of a social learner. Like he feeds off the energy of his friends and his classmates. So he was kind of like socially deprived of that when he was forced to adapt to the virtual. So I feel like the vaccination is a step towards him and others who learn exactly how my brothers learn. It's a step towards them being like given what works best for them again, like returning back to that social learning or that like learning from their peers. It's a step towards that again.
Gotcha.
It's definitely well, underlining that, you think that the school board, y'all think that the schools are ready to have kids come back? Like, are they going to be able to handle the situation? Like, are kids just going to be getting sent home for not wearing face masks even though they got vaccinated? And sometimes, after they get the vaccination, y'all know us. We're going to be like, hold on, I got vaccinated. You can't tell me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I would say it depends on like, as far as how the students respond to it. I feel like it'll depend on how they're met when they're addressed about it, because as we all know, like our response to things usually depend on how we're addressed about something. So I feel like if they're addressed respectfully, anybody will respond positively to respect. But if they're addressed like in a way that could be interpreted as abrasive, then of course it'd be kind of like, nah, you know what I'm doing.
That's definitely.
So how you handle that situation as far as the students' parents? If they have a different outlook on the way you guys handle or address the issue?
Dissect that a bit for me.
So do you approach the parents in a different manner, or how do you go about that when they have an issue with addressing their kids about whether they're vaccinated or wearing a mask or not?
I feel like at that point, then the parents should be like, they should be a part of the conversation of what next steps would be.
I feel like right now with the vaccination, I ain't getting it.
Well,
And
I
that's
got it.
respectable.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My thing is this though. Why get a vaccination if you still gonna make me wear the mask? If the whole world still gets vaccinated and one person doesn't, then what does that mean? You gonna condemn that person to the end of the world? You trying to kill everybody because you the only person that ain't vaccinated and you won't wear a mask?
I appreciate the fact that it's optional though.
Yeah, but it's never. If that's the case, then when will it end? In my eyes.
But I think at some point in time, the point of it, and don't get me wrong, because I've had and still have my concerns around the vaccination. I got the vaccination because as a public official, I have to be spearheading and leading a charge. But I've also been very vocal about my concerns and making sure that whatever myths, whatever is out there, that those are addressed. And that we are not using this time frame to make light of it, but really understand where people are coming from. And so I understand that people don't want to, and I respect that. I understand that people say, like, well, why are we still wearing these masks if we're going to be vaccinated? I respect that too. I think as we get with young people have to clearly understand that concept as well, because they've had a whole year taken away from them. My niece included did not like virtual learning. She'd like to be amongst her peers, recess, lunch, all of that. And you know, like most people, is tired of wearing the mask after a couple of hours. But understanding that once people are in a position to, if they choose to get the vaccine, then hopefully that will get us away from having to consistently wear the mask. I think it's a good topic because a lot of school districts are having these conversations about whether or not to enforce the mask, because there are some teachers who are saying that they want it to happen. So, like, again, this let's have a conversation about even how was that even discussed on the campaign trail.
I also want to add, I think it's a respect to everyone's concerns, because even with the vaccination, there's still some people who are still who will still wear their mask and make sure they're heavy on enforcing the wearing of the mask. Like, I met a lot of people during the campaign, and even in my personal time, like in stores and things like that, people who I've heard, like, customers and employees of said business I would enter, like, not disputing but engaging in conversations where they would essentially come or address the employee like, I'm vaccinated, and I would assume that the employee would be vaccinated, but they would still feel like I should be addressed or spoken to with a mask on instead of, like, without one or without at least a face shield or something like that. So I feel like it's really respecting the perspective of everyone, honestly.
Gotcha. That's good.
And a lot of states are lifting the mask mandate. You know, a lot of cities, even here in Wisconsin, up north, they're not wearing masks.
I don't think they were in favor of wearing masks, to be
No,
fair.
I don't think so either.
I remember the day where everybody was on the Capitol, and and when the mask mandate came down, and everybody's like, well, it wasn't us, but everybody was on the Capitol protesting because they had to wear a mask, and I'm just like, wow, like, this is real serious that y'all really offended by it, but okay.
Do schools have, like, the little 6 feet social distancing signs for standing in lunch lines and stuff like that too?
I've in every school that I've visited since the pandemic, I've seen them.
Okay. All right.
So can you share with us some of the priorities that Ms. Carr had as it relates to even wanting to, you know, be on the school board, and things that she talked about to the community for them to want to elect her to be on the school board?
I feel like the most important thing was making the community included in the choices that would be made on the school board. Because honestly, like, in our journey of like pushing forward to be elected to serve in the school board position, like, we spoke personally with a lot of the constituents, and a perspective of a lot of theirs were like, I'm tired of, like, elected officials coming to my doors and seeking my support or seeking my vote and never hearing from them again. And myself and everyone on our team would always challenge what we would add, that we are not that politician, because like, we not really politicians in general. This is something that we were eager to chase because of the change that we could provide in this position. but we would challenge them to join us and hold us accountable when we're elected to this position, and you yourself be accountable to holding us accountable to making sure your voice is heard. So instead of like speaking ill of the lack of change, this is your position to step forward and become the change that you want to see. And like, obviously they believed in a lot of the stuff we saying, because aside from hearing it from Aisha, they was hearing it from us. And anyone who knows like the start period and the end period of the campaign, we started in the code, and they were seeing us on doors, and they were seeing our dedication. So that is what led to our I feel like that's what led to our victory, and that's what led to the belief that they like, the belief that's behind us now. Yeah, because they seen our dedication, and they seen that it was deeper than us just trying to advance towards something. Like our campaign was completely youth led. So every person that knocked on your door was somebody my age or younger.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So what was if you can give us what was a conversation you guys were having prior to being elected about the mission that kind of binded you to the work that you've been committed to?
I'm an advocate. I want everyone that knows me know I'm someone that if I'm in the room and something needs to be said and no one else will say it, I'ma say it. I'm like the voice of whoever I stand for, whoever I stand with. So that's what a summary of our efforts is. We trying to help everyone that usually is overlooked or silenced. We trying to help them be heard, and we trying to bring them to be inclusive in the things that's going on in the community around them.
Most definitely. I commend you for that.
That's a fact. I appreciate it.
That's what's up. We need brothers to step up to the cause.
Yeah.
Was there a position that she took on standardized testing? Because I think that's been a hot issue, and I want to know if that was something that came up during the campaign, especially with her opposition, and but what was her position on it?
I would like to speak on my position on that. Okay. So, based on my experience in like I'm no longer a student, but I'm a former student, I could speak to the fact that what led to me, like right now, I'm not in college. I'm working on building my career from the ground up. What led me to choose this path was feeling like, not that I felt like I was underprepared. As far as a lot of the testing, like the ACTs and things like that, I advanced in all of my classes. I won't fabricate it. I was lazy in a lot of my classes. I did enough to keep me above. I didn't go above and beyond because I didn't feel like I needed to. But a lot of when it came to the point for the standardized tests, a lot of the stuff that I seen on that, I wasn't familiar with a lot of that stuff. And I always seen that I placed kind of low, and that was a contrast to the intellect that I brought to the classroom. As far as everyone that ever taught me, they could speak to that. So I don't know. I always had a different perspective as far as the standardized testing, because I always felt like I never really felt like it reflected my actual intellect versus how the outcome or how my score would be on those standardized testing.
So as a student, it will bring your confidence down on so many levels too.
Exactly. Like honestly, knowing myself and knowing like what I'm capable of. Like sometimes I would see myself like I would second guess myself just a bit. Like even acknowledging that I was unfamiliar with a lot of that stuff, but just me realizing how underprepared I was when I seen that stuff and knowing like I never seen a lot of this stuff in my life, or I'm extremely unfamiliar with a lot of this stuff. So that made me like it actually made me think in depthly about how prepared for the next step after I graduated high school, and see how it made me think about how prepared I actually was for that next step in my life.
That's what's up.
Do you think that had to do with any type of with the demographic of schools? Because I know in certain schools on certain tests, you get tested on information, and it's not even a lot of information. It's just a brief summary of something you may have never even touched bases on ever. But just to question, have you or do you know about it or have you heard about it? I think that goes to our demographic, because I mean, in the schools in our inner cities, we may not be talking about things that suburban schools are discussing. You know what I mean?
That's definitely true. Yeah.
We don't. We live by a different standard.
Yeah.
If you want to say it like that, you know what I mean?
It's a different level of importance for certain factors of the curriculum. Certain things, certain other things I feel are deemed more important in the schools that are not inner city schools, and they focus on other topics in the schools that are not inner city schools versus the stuff that we are taught to focus on when we in school.
Exactly. I think definitely just looking back from when I was in high school and even below that, I was not a great test taker, but I always passed my classes. Like, I was a high achiever, but my test taking skills just sucked, for lack of a better word, because I always had test anxiety. So that reflected in how I would take my test and then the scores. I remember when I took my ACT, I took it twice. The first time I walked out because I was so nervous and I couldn't take it. And my mom was like, okay, it's okay, you can do this again. So I took it again and I'm like, totally fine. And so I think when we think about, that's why I brought up the question about standardized testing, because we all operate differently. And I think there's too much emphasis put on standardized testing, and every student doesn't respond or react the same way, doesn't learn the same way.
That's a fact.
So therefore, things should be taught differently.
Because I'm a visual learner. Like,
Yep, me too.
So I could put that into perspective. Like, if I'm told to do something, I have a creative mind. So when I'm told to do something, I could think of 1,000 different ways to do it. So I often have to catch myself and like refocus myself so I can make sure that I'm properly or appropriately doing what I'm asked to do. And when that goes, like, how that looks as far as like testing and being tested or being in a situation where I'm like supposed to summarize the things I've been learned. If I'm asked a question, I could think of 1,000 different ways of how that question should be answered, how it looks like to answer that question, versus what you actually asking me to come up with. So yeah, I could identify with that.
Most definitely, it was different for me though.
Yeah.
See, I was one of those students that had a behavior problem.
That's a fact.
So me having a behavior problem, I was not always able to get my work done. But when that test came up, I was able to show how smart I was. So it was different for me. It was like, I'm scoring highest in math.
Yeah.
I'm sitting up there with the Asians.
Oh, God.
I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. I went to Custer High School. Only people that made honor roll, was outstanding students.
Yeah.
No cap, was the Asians. You know what I'm saying? You had a couple of us, because your mama whoop your butt. But things that was like computer engineering and stuff like that. Testing that we don't normally have classes on, but you can take them. So.
And on that note, Pierre, do you think, and to you, Elijah, do you think that our school system needs to change, our curriculum? Because I think about the fact of how are we going to be able to compete with not just other school districts nationwide, but competing internationally. So that way we can make sure that our students are prepared to be able to get the jobs that are out there and or create the jobs that need to be created.
Honestly, I love that you brought that up, because that's one of the things that I love speaking about the most. When I just said briefly how I feel like I was underprepared. Like, I never felt like academically I was like below average.
Yeah.
I could anytime I applied myself, I exceeded what I was supposed to do. But when I graduated, I seen myself come to terms with a lot of things like within that next step of life that I'd never seen before. Like, I'm gonna be honest, before, like, outside of working for the campaign, I stepped into my first employment position alongside Aisha. And to be completely honest, I have never, I didn't even know how to file my taxes for the first time. I never seen that stuff before. I didn't know how to fill out a job application before. So I'm like, that made me think about all the things that I was forced to focus on throughout the 4 years I was in high school. And I'm like, dude, why am I just now learning this?
Yeah.
So I do feel like it should be like an attempt to revise certain aspects of the curriculum. Because I don't feel like after I was out of high school, that should have been the first time of me seeing or me being in front of filing my taxes looked like, or me being placed in front of what a job application looks like.
Exactly. Yeah.
I personally feel that our students should be taught the same curriculum that's being taught abroad.
Yep.
And on the side note of that, I feel like we should get back to normalizing it's okay to be smart.
Yeah.
It's okay to know things.
Yeah.
It's okay to do good in school. You know what I mean? Like,
That's a fact.
I may not do good in school, but I can get the first place in Call of Duty, like high five. You know what I mean? We normalize the stupidest things. Like,
Yeah.
so I think we need to, first off, we need to get that same curriculum that's being taught, like the students in Asia. I mean, yeah, they have a different way they're being taught, but at the same time, it's being drilled into them that this is what you need to know to excel. Not just, oh, well, here's an option. If you want to take it, if not, it's on you. No, I mean, if you show me nothing but success, I have no other options but to
Choice
succeed.
but to see it. That's right.
You know, so,
That's right. You know, you become what you see.
yeah.
Yeah, and moving forward, do y'all have any plans on putting your name in the budget towards schooling? Like, does she have any plan for that?
I'm gonna actually like dissect that a little bit more because it's a lot of ways I just interpreted that.
Okay.
So like,
So I'm saying, like, do she have a plan and purpose for y'all to foot the agenda to make sure that that our schooling is taken care of as far as finance when it comes to the state budget?
oh yeah, that's something like primarily that's what we focusing on now. Like, do you guys live within the District 4? Like
I don't.
school board
I
District 4?
No.
All right, so if you would like to, you can on YouTube they live stream almost every school board meeting. So the past few school board meetings since Aisha has succeeded towards the position and started serving in the position, that's what the focus of the topics have been, like what the budget looks like, what's being done with the budget, and moving forward, what do we plan to do with the budget?
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good. We need new books. We need new computers. We need everything to be new if we coming back into a school that was closed down for as long as it's been closed down.
Yeah.
We don't need to come back to stuff being just cleaned. So going into the schools now, though, like, is it gonna be like, since they are getting the vaccinations now, are more kids gonna be coming back to school, like all grades together?
I know currently, like some schools have started like welcoming the kids back, but there's still some parents who not feeling it yet, and they still trying to get a feel for it. So I feel like gradually we'll reach a point where maybe like we'll see close to 100% of the students back into school physically, but once again, it's really feeding off of the parents and how safe they feel their students would be going back into like physical school.
Okay.
Just a quick question. What are some issues or recurring issues surrounding MPS in the community that challenged you guys to get into the running for District 4?
First thing off the top of my head is disciplinary issues. Like I myself, I could agree with what he said. I was a problem child in school. I got in trouble for a lot of stuff. I got suspended and expelled for a lot of stuff that I definitely feel like was not that serious. I got kicked out of schools for almost fighting, didn't even fight. I don't think that was appropriate. So I feel like a revision, one of the most prominent things was like the disciplinary policies need to be revised. Another thing was identifying with myself. Like I said, it was a lot of stuff that I feel like was more important, like that's more important for like the phase of life I'm in now that I feel like I never touched on when I was in school. So we like trying to bring those things into the school and add that into the curriculum. And also, like another thing is, I'm pretty sure everybody has noticed that like not everybody feel that they're fit for college, or not everybody even want to go to college. So implementing alternatives for those who don't feel like the college life is for them. Like I know a lot of my friends, people that I graduated with, that I keep close contact to, they still not in college, but like they've found themselves in the work that I do outside of like assisting Aisha in the school board stuff. we run a re-engagement program, and we've connected a lot of my friends to like entry-level positions in the fields that they actually strive to be a part of, like medical fields, like trades work, things like that, and even connecting them back to like next level educational positions, like getting them into a community college, plugging them into MATC, so they could get a feel for like start to get a feel for what that college life, university life look like, and actually see if that's for them. So, and plugging themselves into like basic college courses that can translate through other walks of life. Like is college credits that are transferable in like tradesmen apprenticeships and things like that. So if you feel like college is not work for you, this is a couple classes. Like if college ain't the only thing that you're looking into and you also thinking about getting into the trades, well, plug yourself into these courses in MATC, and that is transferable in trades work. So you will already have some of the things that you will have to check off if you enter an apprenticeship.
That's right.
Like stuff like that.
Shout out to that. I love that. I think most definitely that should be highlighted and talked about a whole lot more, because I think nothing wrong with students being talked to about and encouraged to go to 4-year colleges and universities, but everybody isn't always college ready.
Especially if you don't feel prepared based off what you coming out of high school with, then you definitely won't feel like college is for you.
And a lot of students probably feel like, you probably were around friends, other peers who felt like, nobody was really tapping into what I was good at or talking to what I was good at, or at least in showing me there's other opportunities.
Like, that's me. I feel like I was always pointed in the way that they felt I should go. Like, and I was always actively voicing that. Like, I don't even like that stuff. Like, what opportunities are there with the stuff that I do like? Like, I'm not, like, I read books. I like that stuff, but I'm active. I like moving around. I can't sit down for too long. I want to do stuff. I want to be a part of a lot of stuff. I want to move around a lot. So, like, I never really felt like that was for me. I'm good with my hands. Like, what can I do? That's why I mentioned trades work so much, because I'm like extremely proactive with my hands and laboring and stuff like that. So, like, being plugged into things like that was a bit of a desire for me, but it felt like it was never really an outlet for that.
Right. And there's forever going to be a need or a demand for work in the trade and labor industry, because there's always something being built. There's always a need for somebody to build those things, where you have the engineer, but the engineer has to connect to the construction, the laborer, to be able to pay him or her well, but then to say that build this, like, I have the vision, but build it.
But also acknowledging, like, look at the path as far as the future. Look how far into technology we're going. It's gonna be a field. It's gonna be a chance to be an electrician for a long time in the future. So that's one of the most prominent. Like, when I talk to my guys and I tell them to be open minded to the trades, that's one of the fields that I'm pushing them to, because the longevity of work that's promised when you're an electrician is, like, I feel like it's gonna outlast a lot of the other trades positions, just because how far the future is looking to go into depth with technology. So
that's true. Very
That's
true.
definitely true. I work in trades. I'm in construction, and I do a lot of labor work and stuff right now. I was on live today breaking the tub down.
I saw you, bro.
Yeah, but
He was like,
like, that's the demand of the like positions being filled in trades work. So it's like it just helping people, enlightening people on the importance and the demand of those positions and filling those positions.
and the pay.
the pay is extreme. I talked to an electrician. His name was Sparky.
Hey, Sparky.
That was his name.
Shout out Sparky.
I'm like, okay, Sparky it is. And he told me, he makes $70 an hour. And he said sometimes he can charge a flat rate. He can do a light fixture for $200.
Wow.
Like,
You set your own price.
he said that's what he said. He's contracted. He's landed contracts through the state now. He said he's 35. He's well off. I'm like, man, that sounds like the plan right there.
When you become so good at something that you like, when you become that good at something that you've been doing for so long, you can set your own pricing.
Yeah, that's very true.
Especially when you focus on longevity and not just living in the right now moment.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Education will get you there.
Yeah. Another question for you. What is Aisha Carr and you guys' team, District 4, what does your utopia of MPS look like?
That's a good question.
And
Like
inclusive
MPS in the
education.
perfect world.
I would say like an inclusive education. I don't feel like we could execute education perfectly, but to get as close to that as possible, to get as close to comfort as we possibly can. That's what I would say. Like, get as close to majority or as many of the students as possible being comfortable where they feel like their future in education is taking them. I feel like that's the closest thing to utopia we could get to.
What are some of the underlying efforts that people may not see or may not know about that you guys are currently working on surrounding that issue?
All right, so one of the first, I don't know if you guys, I should have brought one because I know it. A lot of the things that we were telling every like constituent we spoke to at the doors, it was pinpointed on one of our lit cards in our efforts to succeed towards serving in the position. But one of the most prominent things that we were telling the constituents is that Aisha plans to like reinvest 100% of the salary she'll receive for serving on the school board back into the community to like aid or build efforts to be more inclusive on the community, like the parents, students in the household, and what the education of their child looks like, but also like community work, like making the school, like making education not only within the school but in the household. Yeah. Like bringing education into the household also, because it like learning don't stop at the end of the school
That's
day.
right. Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the reasons why it's such a like it's such a setback within our education, because it's like after the school day, everything that we've been forced to focus on within the school, it's like it fall off because we don't see that stuff no more to the next school day. So just like bringing education into the home also.
So those funds gonna go into like after school programs?
Yeah, a lot is like those things, like extracurriculars, like
we had DARE. Like, is they bringing DARE back, or like is DARE still around?
I think it is.
It is, and it's not as big as it was when we were in.
Right. I used to love that. Like, we need to bring back more things like that.
Yeah. Also, like with North Division, that's a school in our within our district. Have any of you guys been in North Division?
Yeah.
You know how big the pool is in that school?
Yeah.
They don't even use it. So bringing back an effort to make that I know a lot of people that
and
can
I don't
swim.
even know how to swim.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I know a lot of people that could probably outswim some champions. I won't lie to you. And they don't even have no way to, like, nothing to do with that talent of theirs.
So meaning, like, not just have it open to the students there, but have it open to community, for community use to be able to learn swimming skills. For instance, in the example that you brought up.
So I was saying, like, to when I meant bring education in the household, I mean bringing like takeaways from education. But I feel like if that'll serve the community, it'd be something that we can make inclusive into our effort. I mean
that's a good point, because for most students, I mean, that's their reality. They're only learning when they're in when they're at school. That it ends when they return back home, because maybe they don't have guardian parent, somebody there who's knowledgeable, and being able to go through their lesson with them.
But also, it's a lot of distractions at home. Like,
That's
a
true.
lot of is speaking from my own perspective. When I was a student, it was a lot of things. Like, after I left school, it was a lot of stuff that completely blinded me to what the education part was going to be. Like, it was a lot of stuff that I could not ignore, things that I needed to have addressed, things that I needed to gain control of. And I kind of, like, the educational stuff had to play backseat while I was at home, because it was stuff I needed to get on top of.
Right.
They might put the funds towards tutoring then.
Yeah.
That would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, that's something that'd be extremely beneficial.
Yeah.
And is she seeking out suggestions as to what she should do with those funds?
That's the part of including the community that we're talking about. Like, Aisha doesn't plan to be the sole decider of what our next step is. It's challenging the community to be a part of the decisions, because it's obvious that the community and the students have gone unheard for a long time.
That's true. Let's big up to her for wanting to give back in that particular way and use it effectively.
Yeah, we need that. Our communities need that. Education is most definitely important. After school education is even more important, especially with these young kids dying. Yeah. Being killed, being out there not having nowhere to go. So most definitely
that's a big part of what I was saying with, like, when we went going back home after school and not being able to focus on school because it was other things. Me speaking to the other things that needed to be addressed. That's like it tie into that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And there's a lot of students who fall into that category.
That's a fact.
So, I mean, hopefully, Aisha has support from her colleagues and from community to be able to make that happen. So it just won't fall upon her to see how that looks like and the investment of that, because people need to invest in that particular effort.
Yeah.
Most definitely. We need to create a better way to get our kids involved in sports. You know, gym class is not the only thing that they have. Basketball shouldn't be the only sport we thrive in.
Yeah.
You know, we should have more sports, inclusive activities in our school.
You know, the people always kind of talked bad about the fact of students who just solely focused on sports. And I always kind of thought about, well, you know, everybody isn't a high achiever. Everybody's not going to get that 3.0 or that 2.5. And also, it could be socially a way for students to be able to connect, whether it's not sports, it could be theater, it could be art class. Like, we have to, you know, really normalize and love on creatives, like students who, they may not be an engineer, but they definitely will be able to paint the hell out of something. You know, they could be the next, you know, actor or actress, you know, the next person who's going to be getting that Broadway recognition. So I think, you know, definitely the sports aspect of leaning in and encouraging students that we see who are doing well in other aspects just outside of education, but making sure that they know that education is a priority still too.
Right. And a lot of students use those different areas as an outlet. Like a lot of my friends, I got family members, probably some of the coldest hoopers I ever seen.
Yep.
And that's their outlet. Like, that's how they escape from the other things that bother them within their life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a creative. Painting and drawing, that's an outlet for me. That's how I escape from other things. So that, like, putting something within that for us to, like, solely focus on that in a safe environment and a comfortable environment is a need.
Do you think NPS like invest in that?
I was just gonna say that.
Nah. From a student perspective, I never really felt like it.
Okay.
I
I always
believe
felt
so,
like that space, it was never really a space for creatives. As far as us being a student and me doing something with my creative mind, I never really felt like it was a space for it.
Even with having like School of the Arts, you know, it's still not something that.
Yeah, I attended James Madison.
Yeah.
So I
There's a
never
tutor there.
I never experienced like the feel of a school like the School of the Arts. So all my perspectives come from like a student at James Madison.
Yep.
And I never really, like, that's why I'm saying I never really felt like I was in a space for someone who identifies as a creative also.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think a lot of those schools with the private funding and the different things that go along with that, the different sponsors and donations that, you know, go to a lot of these programs or schools simply don't even have a budget for that. I used to run a school after school program, and I started a football league for 53rd Street Community School, and it ran for about 3 years smoothly. All the kids seemed to be engaged just fine, but once the funds ran out, I mean, it was like, all right, well, we just gotta find
Back to
something else to
square
do.
one.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, you know, they just swept it under the rug, like it was nothing. It's like, okay, well, a lot of kids do use that as an outlet. A lot of kids, I had kids come and say, I don't even want to go home.
That's a fact.
I don't want to go home.
That's
Like, if I could stay here all
that's a
night,
very
Yeah.
I
prominent
would.
fact.
You know what I mean? Like, and that speaks volume. You know what I
That's
mean?
the
So
importance of
those
that
programs are
outlet.
very imperative.
Yeah, and I guarantee you in that community or where the community that those kids came from, it was less violence. Not to say that the kids you had was violent, but
Right.
it reduces the traffic of
Yeah.
being encountered with anybody
Right.
other than, you know, being engaged in sports.
Exactly.
It reduces the like frequency of them being victims also.
Yeah.
That
That's
too. That too gives them a safe haven.
One of our viewers, Angela Hayes, shout out to you. She says sports give our youth something to do. I was watching Netflix like everybody else, and Snoop has a series on there. And I didn't know Snoop was a coach.
Yeah,
a football coach.
Yep.
And so I got so intrigued in watching this series. I thought I was just going to watch the first episode, but I ended up watching the entire thing. And it was very telling about what we're talking about right now, that he gave an outlet for these young men, that they may not like football, but they began to love football. But it gave them a regimen, it gave them a routine, it gave them a standard, some accountability. But it also kept them out of situations that would hurt them, because a lot of them came from families, backgrounds where they had, brothers that had been involved in the life. And Snoop is saying, obviously everybody know that he was a former gang member, but he wanted them to see, another way out, and to see the support. So I love that. But he also made sure that those young men were held accountable in school. So he was telling them, like, if you don't do well in school, then you're not playing.
And it's crazy that you spoke on that, because I've been like following Snoop journey as a football coach for a minute.
I think it's called the Snooper Bowl.
Something like that,
But some of the youth that he got on his team, like in the beginning of it, they wasn't even rocking with it. But over time, they arose as some of the like coldest members of his team, just because of them having something to focus on, something to do their time with, something to do with their time, and something to actually like. Something to build character and stuff like that, and bring out talent that they didn't really know they had.
And I think they saw consistency. A lot of times people will be mentors and role models in our young people's lives, but they're not consistent with being that role model and that. And obviously, Snoop has the fame and everything else to go alongside of that, but he also cares. So he was showing those young men, here is the consistent work. So in response to that, I need y'all to be, consistent. I'm gonna show y'all love. And be there for y'all. But I just thought that was just very telling, and like being able to replicate that type of energy in this community would be something just real big.
That's something I also feel is important, because I, like me being myself, I done been like a participant in a lot of attempts to be like that extracurricular home, but after I concluded the whatever time period that I spent there, it felt like it was like a one and done, and I never like re-engage with those programs or those resources again. So it's a comfortability piece that's broken down, like when you do it, when you execute that like Snoop did, and you make sure that it's a long-standing like relationship with the people that you were working with, or the youth that you plan on working with, you gonna like see a different side of them, because they're gonna they're gonna open up like a lot more when they see that you don't plan to like work with them and then drop them off. When they see that you plan on working with them and staying with them and working with them long term, you're gonna see a different effort from them, a different like outcome of what the work that you getting for them look like. You're gonna see a lot of a difference from them also.
Definitely. And I think he added a special piece to that. He gave them some type of financial support as well. You got to remember, people who have nothing, the littlest thing means something.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So just that, even that initiative of I'm giving you financial support just gives me another reason. You know what? He really cared for me. Like, he's not just telling me I get to play, but he actually making sure I survive. He help me putting food on my plate, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. So shout out to Snoop again. And he's been doing that for years. This ain't some new thing too.
Exactly. And sports also gives people exposure, because a lot of people, I have come across a lot of different students since I've lived in Milwaukee, and a lot of students said they've never been outside of Milwaukee. They've never been outside of Wisconsin. So I think a lot of times sports allows for young people to see other places, to travel and to see different cultures, to get a different aspect of things, and to know that Milwaukee is home, but Milwaukee is also a place you can leave Milwaukee,
like to see that there's other things.
There's other things out there. Yeah.
Most definitely. Let's tune in to a question from our viewers.
Go ahead, brother.
Angela Hayes. Hey, how you doing? Angela Hayes says, when embracing an art, be it sports or wherever, it allows children a safe way to express themselves, also with having a reason to fight for their grades, because most schools have a GPA minimum requirement to participate. And so what you think about that?
I agree with it. I feel like that speaks towards the giving them something to focus on. Like, a lot of them, when they're not doing nothing, they got a lot of time to kill. And usually if they don't find something productive to do, they put a lot of time into the wrong thing. So it's giving them something positive to put a lot of time into.
Most definitely. Pierre, how you feel like, maintaining a certain GPA holds our kids responsible for being able to play basketball or be able to play football or whatever their activity may be?
I think holding them accountable is a definite. But I do feel some students aren't just book smart.
Yeah.
They I mean, you're not gonna say, oh, they're not intelligent or but
it just don't come as easy.
It just don't come as easy. But picking up this ball or catching it or whatever the issue, I can do that 100%. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like we need to find a way to merge that. But I do agree. We definitely need to have some type of standard set in place. Like, if you're not going to do this, then you don't get to do this.
And something that like works more often than not is identifying within their own circle, like a circle of their peers, which ones do excel within that, like which ones are more, I would say, gifted within
advanced,
more advanced, and like putting more authority or putting a bit of responsibility on. Like most like sports teams are viewed as brotherhood. Like if you want to help your brother succeed on the court, help him succeed in these books and hold him accountable, help him learn, help him get better. Yeah. So y'all could essentially get better on the court because you're gonna get to work with him more when he excel more in his books.
Exactly. And I also don't. I totally agree. And I also don't want it to be where our young brothers are being exploited because once you identify that he's a great football player, he's a great basketball player, he's a great baseball player, then these pro sports agents, they're coming after them, and they're not caring whether or not they have a high GPA or a low GPA. They're just worrying about being able to get them onto their team and get that money. And so I definitely think that there should be a GPA requirement, but I also understand that people aren't able to always meet that. So you got to meet people where they are. Right. But I just always be in the back of my mind that once you see that Pierre is, hitting 30 points every night, Pierre, you can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Then I don't want these agents coming after you and exploiting you for what it is that you're doing and not really investing in you. Yeah. Just wanting to make $1 off of you.
Yeah. Right. I think with that inclusion, I think some type of equity classes should come into play. Some type of business management. For our kids that are involved in sports, because it gets to show them that more than likely people that play sports, they're investors.
That's right.
They're businessmen.
Yeah.
A lot of them got their own brands. And that doesn't come without having a knowledgeable mind on how to succeed in a business.
That's right.
And a lot of them are taught at a young age that they are their own brand.
That's right.
So, like teaching those who aspire to reach those levels as the athletes that they idolize, teaching them at a younger age that you are your own brand. So build your own brand and like build it and solidify your own brand.
Yep, that's what we need. We need to build our youth up.
That's a fact.
So can I ask a quick question? I know we come into like our finishing time here, but I did want to get this question in since we're talking about education and kind of segueing into curriculum. How as a student, how do you feel about the fact that there wasn't a lot of curriculum based around race relations that spoke to you? And especially now that we're in this time period of wanting to make sure that Black people are seen and heard and empowered. Just talk to us just a little bit about how you saw that as a student.
So this probably my favorite question all day, I gotta say. So those who don't know, like a bit of a reflection on my relationship with Aisha. Before I worked alongside her, like professionally, she was a teacher of mine at James Madison, my favorite teacher ever. And she was also one of the teachers gifted with piloting one of a class that came from the Comparative Ethnic Study Initiative. So essentially, we had in our senior year a Black Lives Matter class, and like I know for a fact that I paid more attention in that class than any class I ever did. Like, and I'm an artist, I'm a creative. I didn't even pay as much attention in art class as I did in that class.
Wow,
because it gave us some insight on. A closer insight on what we learn about our ancestors versus like what we usually learn in the split second of like the focus that we see on our ancestors throughout Black History Month, we was learning this for like an extended period of time and learning about ancestors that are usually overlooked and whose names are usually forgotten when we chanting about our champions that served us throughout the like the rise up of our ancestors, like escaping from slavery and stuff. It gave us a chance to focus on, like I said, a lot of those champions whose names were overlooked or forgotten.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I never really focused on any class ever more than I focused on that class.
That's what's up.
So I feel like bringing that, like, if it was more of that within our curriculum, I feel like a lot of others I'd be able to identify as the same way I did, and they arise to that and focus on their education a lot more, because it's a sense of ownership taken away from those classes. Like, it's more to our history than what we usually learn.
That's definitely, man. That's what's up, man. At least you had somebody. You know what I mean? Everybody don't have somebody.
That's very important. I feel like that's a variable or a piece of the education that's really important. Those important teachers.
Okay, I have one more question real quick. Amber Page says, how do you think we get the community at large to demand more funding for these programs?
So going back to what we were talking about, programs as it relates to enrichment, tutoring, after school programs, and obviously to the initiative that Aisha wants to do with her salary.
So that's like in our efforts, that's like us like not even challenging, welcoming the community to reach out to us and become a part of the conversations that we having to build these amendments and build these efforts that we attempting to do, like that we attempting to fill those gaps and fill that like vacancy, meeting us where we at and becoming part of the conversation that we are using to build these efforts.
Is that like community joining in these the meetings or
exactly.
whatever, so we can become like a collective uniform?
That's exactly what it looks like.
Okay.
Definitely. Shout out to our viewers out there. Thank y'all for the questions too. Thank y'all for the comments. Yeah. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Oh yeah.
You know, and of course, you know, shout out to you for coming. You know,
Elijah Johnson. Yes, sir.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot.
In the gap. And thanks for doing that work, young man.
Yes, sir.
If you haven't copped any of the merch, you know, make sure y'all cop the merch. Revolution Ready. Make sure y'all like and share.
That's right.
You know, make sure y'all tune in every Wednesday. You know, and make sure, you know, y'all show Aisha Carr some support and Elijah Johnson some support as well. You know, what ways can they follow you? What ways can they support Aisha on her journey and making the school board a success?
So, we have a website, our campaign website, AishaCarr.com. We have a campaign page, Aisha Carr for Milwaukee.
Okay.
So those are some of the ways, and we have our other links to reach us and keep in contact with us on those social, like on our Facebook page and on our campaign website. Is ways to keep in contact with us, and is information about the upcoming like school board meetings and things like that.
Okay.
Well, make sure y'all do that, because MPS just dropped their budget, and so I know that the school board is going to be reviewing that, and so you know we got new people on the school board. Make sure we're paying attention to what's happening to the virtual meetings. I'm sure they're still having those virtual school board meetings, but make your voice be heard, y'all. And you have representation on the board that looks like us, so we have to make sure that she's supported. And she knows what the community wants, so she can address those things to make our school district better for our students.
Yeah,
That's definitely. And don't forget to tune in next Wednesday at 5. You know, catch the merch. You know, I am your co-host, Sedan Smith.
I'm Tiffany Henry.
I am Mr. Pierre.
Well, I miss Tiff. Forget Tiffany Henry. I miss Tiff.
You miss Tiff.
And we
So they
are.
only all formal. Like,
And we are Revolution Ready.
Lights,
Camera.
black
Ship.
shit.
Let's
Peace
tune in,
and
y'all.
love. Peace and love, everybody.
All right.
Oh my God.
He ended it remotely.
No, he ended.
I finally figured out how to end it.
I don't know.
Don't be looking at me like that. Don't be looking at me like I was supposed to be ended 20 minutes ago.
I was so like, nigga.
I was like,
One more question.
if one of y'all don't mess